welcome. Thank you for joining. Shout out to Joshua. Shout out to Darlet. Shout out to Cake Sita. Shout out to Brinley, or Brinley. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Markellius. Shout out to JC. Shout out to Naira. Naira. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Shama or Shema. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Tanner. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Gunner. Shout out to Hunter. Shout out to Haley. You're welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Dina. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Carola. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Tito. Shout out to Sainta. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Athena. Hello everyone, welcome. Shout out to Colt. Shout out to Abby. I did put Tito. He's right here. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Ash. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Amila. Happy birthday. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Livy. Shout out to Preston. Shout out to Kinley. Shout out to Naya. Shout out to Diane. Shout out to Winston. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Chase. Shout out to Theo. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Jayan. Shout out to Georgie. Shout out to Ezra. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Sawyer. Shout out to Mason. Thank you, Diane. Shout out to Milani. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Hayun. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Trip. Shout out to Nayeli. Shout out to Julian. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Charles Perry. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Charles. Shout out to Jada. Shout out to Frida. Shout out to Ada. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Crystal. Shout out to Ash. Shout out to Sailor. Shout out to Melon. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Tofik. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kula. Shout out to Zahir. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Serenity. Shout out to Winnie. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Islaya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Antonio. Shout out to Katrina. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Infinity. Shout out to Zed. Shout out to Mercedes. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Fuad. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Quavion. Shout out to Sophia. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Isla. Shout out to Harmony. Shout out to Penelope. Shout out to Grayson. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to AJ. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Will. Shout out to Brody Bowles. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Brody. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Quocolocus. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ben. Shout out to Maggie. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Yara. Shout out to Dad. Shout out to Amsar. Shout out to Nicholas. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Coco. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Elizabeth. Shout out to Alden. Shout out to Navina. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. On to the next page. Thank you so much for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Thank you also for writing your name and taking the time to do so. I know I don't write the fastest, so thank you so much. If you want to check out my channel, it's NessDIYcorner. Shout out to Mozart. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Glenn. Shout out to Natasha. Shout out to Guli. Shout out to Eliana. Shout out to Aliana. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to CJ. Shout out to Eddie. Shout out to Hamza. Shout out to Messiah. Shout out to Devin. Shout out to Angela. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Miku. Shout out to Eileen. Shout out to Logan. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Crystal. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Yoonjin. Shout out to Jaxel. Shout out to Naisha. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Natalia. Shout out to Noah. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Josh. Yo, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Josh Yo. Shout out to Baguette Muncher. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Neymar. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Nick. Thank you so much. I'll try to write it in cursive. I'm not the best. How'd I do? Shout out to Nick. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Mason. Shout out to Julian. Shout out to Metal. Wait, I want to try writing Nick again. Hold on, let me try it. Okay, that's a little neater. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Jayla. Shout out to Catherine. Shout out to Presley. Shout out to Mishi. Shout out to Marlo. Shout out to Drea. Shout out to Sawyer. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Shania. Shout out to Bryant. Shout out to Dalen. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Declan. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Jesse. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Tyler. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to John Palmer. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to John. Shout out to Jeremy. Shout out to Darius. Shout out to Nate. Shout out to Leilani. Shout out to Jeremiah. Shout out to Jonah. Shout out to Roderick. Shout out to Ariel. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Chayo. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Stacy. Shout out to Kittens and Puppies Are Cute. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Whoopsie. Shout out to Abbas. Shout out to what was it? Kaylia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jiva. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Hashir. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Wyatt. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Genesis. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Zuzu. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Elliot. Is Elliot with 2 T's? Oh yeah, it is. Oh no, wait. I messed up. There we go. Shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Tyrone. Shout out to Lacey. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Akintola. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Khalil. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Dallery. Shout out to Robert. Shout out to Jody. Shout out to Goku. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Brianna. Shout out to Grayson. Shout out to Vanilla. Shout out to Amanda. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Rich. Shout out to Presley. Shout out to Bailey. You can subscribe if you want. I would truly appreciate it. Shout out to Addie, but you don't have to. Shout out to James. Shout out to Josiah. Shout out to Reagan. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. I live stream every day around the same time as this. On the live stream, I do shout outs. And if you check out the YouTube shorts on my channel, I post other content. My channel is NessDIYcorner. Shout out to Jesus. Shout out to Marwa. Shout out to Amira. Shout out to Lainey. Shout out to Gwen. Shout out to Grayson. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Joseph. Shout out to Lincoln. Shout out to Farnaz. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Phaedra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Reagan. Shout out to Dash. Shout out to Haley. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Brax. Shout out to Hazley. Shout out to Riker. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Garfield. Shout out to Braylon. Shout out to Baron. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Noemi. Shout out to Mexico. Shout out to Izana, or Izana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Cosmos World. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Cosmos World. Shout out to Khadija. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to William. Shout out to Randy. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Helen. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Jill. Shout out to Sean. Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Aiden. Oh, I already put Aiden. Shout out to Araya. Shout out to Marianne. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Ulayla. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Juliet. Shout out to Luciana. Shout out to Cadence. Shout out to Matthias. Shout out to Kayela. Shout out to Finley. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Colton. Shout out to Lyrical Games. Thank you so much. Shout out to Lyrical Games. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Sagal. Shout out to Colton. Shout out to Jatoya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Raven. Shout out to Mary Kate. Shout out to Annabelle. Shout out to Hybrid Siren Soul Klappa. Thank you so much. Shout out to Hybrid. Shout out to Milo. Shout out to Abdul. Shout out to Vinny. Shout out to Sebastian. Shout out to Reagan. Shout out to Sylvia. Shout out to Wesley. Shout out to Arshim. Shout out to Melissa. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Micah. Shout out to Jackson. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Manny. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Daisy. Shout out to Miracle. Shout out to Vella. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Red. Shout out to Brody. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Joshua. Shout out to Zania. Shout out to Harley. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to London. Shout out to Ezra. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to Adelie. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Adriel. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Bryce. Shout out to Manar. Shout out to Morgan. Shout out to Tashawn. Shout out to Christopher. Shout out to Seth. Shout out to Eldo. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Kizar. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Arwa. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Kazia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Biggie. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Also, thank you for your patience. I know I'm not the fastest in writing, so thank you for taking the time to write your name. Check out my channel. It's NessDIYcorner. I post other content. I hope you can check it out. Shout out to Azim. Shout out to Honey. Shout out to Ainsley. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Sean Michaels. Shout out to Ahmed. Shout out to Shiley. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Leilani. Or Leani, sorry. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Fernandez. Shout out to Anali. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to McKinley. Shout out to Tommy. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Jane. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Adira. Happy birthday. Shout out to Cooper. Shout out to Alexander. Shout out to Kason. Shout out to Hybri. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Stitch. Shout out to Uziala. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Darcy. Shout out to Arwa. Shout out to Jana or Jana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Serafina. Shout out to Cynthia. Shout out to Catherine. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to Chief. Shout out to Waleska. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Alyssa. I'm sorry about her loss. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Karen. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to Amra. Shout out to Nina. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Eliseo. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Simone. Shout out to Nyla. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Millie. Yes, what's your baby sister's name? Shout out to, is it Leech? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Amara. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Mooney. Shout out to Ayana. Shout out to Demarian. Shout out to Zamora. Shout out to Anaya. I'm so sorry. There we go. Shout out to Olivia Faith. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Harley. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Hunter. Shout out to Wyatt. Shout out to Isla. Shout out to Carol. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Chase. Shout out to Rain. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Legacy. Shout out to Kathleen. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Phoenix. Shout out to Bella. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Miller. Shout out to Jaina. Shout out to Olive. Shout out to Quentin. Shout out to Rain. Shout out to Demario. Shout out to Jackie. Shout out to Leggy. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to James. Shout out to Jaslyn. Shout out to Aza. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Anais. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Star. Shout out to Asher. Shout out to Leticia. Shout out to Cosmos World. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Cosmos World. Shout out to Abella. Shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Anais Germano. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Anais Germano. Shout out to Justin. Shout out to Richie. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. I live stream every day around the same time as this. Also check out my channel, my YouTube shorts. I post little cute tutorials for greeting cards, for birthday cards. I do little cards like this, tutorials. If you're interested, check out my YouTube shorts section. I do other little characters like Stitch and just other things. I hope you can check it out. On to the next page. I do greeting cards for holidays and birthdays. Thank you for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. My channel is NessDIYcorner if you're interested. I do have another greeting card that I'm gonna post. It's Stitch. If you like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, stay tuned for that one. I'll be posting that one soon. Shout out to Harnoor. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Camille. Shout out to Lamone. Shout out to Bry. Shout out to Colt. Shout out to Blakely. Shout out to, ooh, I already put Colt. My bad. Shout out to Emberlyn. Shout out to Babu. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Naomi. Shout out to Latifer. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lisette. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Emmy Dollies. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Summer. Shout out to Chase. Shout out to Abel. Shout out to V. Shout out to Talia. Shout out to Carter. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Adrian. Shout out to Harley. Shout out to Mackenzie Ray. Shout out to Razan. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Sawyer. Shout out to Julissa. Shout out to Iker. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Alicia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Emery. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Asa. Shout out to Alina. Shout out to Joel. Shout out to Cherish. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Tandon. Shout out to Leonardo. Shout out to Nose 4. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Milagros. Shout out to Adira. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Lavon. Shout out to Lonnie. Shout out to Lencho. Shout out to Trip. Shout out to Glenn. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to LeBron. Shout out to Jamila. Shout out to Norella. Shout out to Hartley. Shout out to Sloan. Shout out to Torres. Shout out to Hakeem. Shout out to Michelle. Shout out to Jalea. Shout out to Jared. Shout out to Habiba. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Amber. Shout out to Austin. Shout out to Bentley. Shout out to Jewel. Shout out to Nova. Shout out to Arsalan. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Vex. Shout out to Victor. Shout out to Ronaldo. Shout out to Isla. Shout out to Ashton. Shout out to Yunche. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Luke. Shout out to Brayden. Shout out to Freddie. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Evie. Shout out to Hartley. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Everly. Shout out to Jerome. Shout out to Tori. Shout out to Penelope. Shout out to Diviana. Shout out to Braxton. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to David Diaz. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to David. Harley, yes, I live stream every day around the same time as this. Shout out to Autumn. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Alina. Shout out to Selma. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Vecna. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. I live stream every day around the same time as this. Please subscribe if you want to support my channel. I would truly appreciate it. Your support means the world to me. Thank you for being here. My channel is NessDIYcorner. Shout out to Kalia Watson, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Tyler NFL. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Tyler. Shout out to David Diaz. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to David Diaz. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Nguyen. Shout out to 11. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Alexander. Shout out to Jules. Shout out to Sloan. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Leilani. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Lorenza. Shout out to Madeline. Shout out to Josiah. Shout out to Joseph. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Leilana. Shout out to Chloe.